Yo.
Okay.
What's going down? You're on the recovery pod. Say what's going down. You're on the recovery pod.
How long is this going to last?
What's going down? How do you put up with me?
I have no idea. So when is enough? How do you know what enough is?
Are you asking? Are you dramatically posing the question topic for the pod?
Well, both. I mean, yeah, and also, how do you tell when something is enough?
Oh boy. I mean, there's so many levels to enough because it really depends on how you look at it. You know, what is your end game? What, you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be a standard, right? There's got to be like doing your best. You know, so many things go into play. So you got to do your best. You know, you got to watch the perfectionism disease because that's going to set your bar way high where enough can't be perfectionism. That can't, by definition, be enough. You know what I mean? Like, enough is like enough, passable. So, but then you also got to think, you know, you got to allow yourself to do your best. And that really on like a spiritual level or like a self-analyzing level, your best is enough. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what that is. Now, you know what I'm trying to say? There's just levels. There's no set point. My enough isn't the same as your enough, isn't the same as my enough on yeah.
No, yeah, I understand. So that's why, you know, everybody hits their own rock bottom. So everybody's enough is different. So that's one type of enough. So of course that sets the tone for what the amount of enough is for each person. Now there's like other things as well that happen in your life and you just don't know the limit. And even though like your best is enough, it's like there's also another side to it. It's like, what if you don't think you are at your best yet? You're not at your best enough yet. So my fear that creeps in is that I feel like I am not being at my best. I'm not putting my best.
Hold on. You're saying two different things though, and I think you got to differentiate between the two. Doing your best right now in this moment isn't the same as doing the best you can do. That's another potential hypothetical. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the best for you? Is it perfectionism? I mean, you know, so like,
oh my God, my mind is fucking blown right now. Did you know that I did not know this up until this moment? Like, seriously?
I really didn't either. You saying it, I just kind of heard the difference there and was like, wait a minute. What was that?
Oh my God.
It was like a glitch in the matrix. And I was like, hold up.
This whole time, I thought that me doing my best was not me doing my best.
But you were doing your best. But you didn't think you were doing your best.
Fuck.
It always has to come down to the situation. Like, if you're doing your best and compared to everything else you've ever done or everything everyone else is doing at the time is complete shit. Like, let's say your best is like 1 out of 100. You're still doing your best. You know what I mean?
But what is qualified to be doing your best? What is qualified? Like, what if somebody could put more effort in, but they actually like just won't, and they think that they are, but they're not. Like, they think they could put in more effort, but they don't. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, but like, what defines that? Okay, I could have in my life worked harder every day, worked out, saved money. I could have done that. And I can look back and say that would have been my best. And I could self-defeat, you know, but you got to take in consideration, like, there's levels to everything. There's levels to motivation, energy, priority, you know. So if I sit on the couch all day and eat Cheetos and all I do is watch Netflix, did I have the capacity to go start a business that day? I mean, you can look at it like, yeah, that was a possibility, but really, like, that wasn't a realistic possibility because of what I did that day, if that makes sense. Like, so many factors come into play, and you can't judge yourself on a baseline. Like, you can't say, okay, well, Monday through Friday, I was like super on point, quick-witted, high energy, high functioning, but Saturday, I was just burnt. And I should have been functioning on Saturday the way I functioned on Wednesday, because that my best on Wednesday was like a 90 and my best on Saturday was like a 2. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
So you can't. Now, I feel like you can always, like, if you're just fucking off and you're just like straight bullshitting, you have the time, attention, and energy to put towards it, and you just choose not to, you could say you're not doing your best, but at the same time, maybe those distractions were that much stronger for you. Maybe your focus just wasn't there. Your passion and your drive wasn't there. So did you really have the potential and not use it? Or did you not have it that day?
Right. Yeah, so see, that's the thing. My conditioning that I didn't even know was a conditioning up until this point, that it was even like a wrong, well, not a wrong, but like that it was just like, even if, you know, when you're distracted, when you're not motivated, when you're, you know, you feel like you can't or whatever, that I grew up thinking that was not an option. So if you are in that state, you are not at your best and you're not good enough.
Right.
So, like, doing your best has to be you accomplishing things, you understanding things, you figuring things out, getting things done immediately. And
that's just too high of an expectation.
This whole time, I swear to God, that's what I thought was me doing my best. And if I was not doing my best, I was not good enough.
Right.
Yeah.
No, like, how many times have you heard someone say in a meeting, the best thing, if, you know, some days all I can do is not use. You know what I mean? Like, I fall short on my anger. My defects come out. You know, I don't take the high road. I don't put into practice all these principles, but I didn't use today. And some days that's my best. You know what I mean? Like, there's just days where I'm high functioning, where I'm ahead of my anger, where I speak clearly and, you know, impeccably, and then there's days where I just kind of fall short of myself, and that's just my best.
So yeah, so when somebody is, you know, if somebody can't function, say they got a lot of fear, they got a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of, you know, mental problems, so it's like, you know, you got to allow what is there. You can't pretend like it's not there.
Right.
So if you allow what's there, then you can't get past that, but that is where you're at. So until you allow yourself to be that, you are not gonna be at your, like, best is best. And the one thing that I also kind of fear is that, like, will I ever get to my bestest? You know, will I ever But it's like the only way we can do that is just by allowing ourselves to not be what we have, like, are just dying to be. We have to accept, this depression, accept this anxiety, these trauma triggers, just sink into them fully. I kind of had a moment earlier where I'm like reading this other so on top of like the one lab I got to do that I can't figure out for senior projects, just fucking at it like half the day. Then I'm like, okay, I'm going to move on to the next thing. I read the next thing and it's like also makes no fucking sense. So then I get into this triggered state where I'm sitting there and I'm just shaking. And I'm like, my first instinct is to just as usual ignore it, and I got to keep going. I got to do my best, But then I'm like, wait, hold up, no, I can't. That didn't work for me before. So then I sat there and I just sunk into it like fully. And as I started sinking into it, I started gaining that awareness, like the feeling of it, the feelings that I'm feeling, and then the thoughts that come with it. And as I was being there with myself, that's how I got to my awareness, is by being there with it. So what is awareness? It's allowing yourself to watch your thoughts and to feel your feelings in this moment, in the present moment of whatever is there. So if I were to just try to ignore that, I would not be aware of it. I would not acknowledge it. I would just be like, oh, there's something, I just feel like shit, but I'm just trying to push myself to my limits, So as I'm like feeling it through, it's like I feel like a little girl once again who needs help, and there's nobody to help, and I have no idea, and I'm going to get yelled at if I don't figure it out. It's like, it was a really scary feeling, but as I allowed myself to feel it through, it started going away. And then I was able to think clearly and figured it out.
Right.
It's crazy.
But we got to watch too, because we as humans, oh my God.
What?
What's up? She keeps coming in here. Oh. Just wanted a hug. You're cute. Will you shut my door?
Okay.
Love you. Love you too. Bye. So like we as humans, we think, we process, we compare ourselves to others, ourselves to ourselves, ourselves to our imagined selves, our potential, which, ultimately doesn't exist. And then, again, when we give ourselves a potential set point, we're basing that off other people, or we're basing that off just feeling like we're godlike. Like I should read everything and know it 100%. I'm a writer. I've been writing for fucking 20 years. I should be able to sit down at any moment and write absolute perfection that everybody loves and pray. You know what I mean? And it's just so unrealistic. But our problem is that we see these moments, we have these judgments, and then we allow that to factor into our self-worth. So if I'm not getting it, if I'm not holding myself up to this standard I've set for myself, then that makes me less of a person. That makes me unworthy. That makes me dumb. That makes me ugly. That makes me stupid. You know what I mean? And that's the problem. Like, we are no more or less of a person because of what we can or can't do in any given moment. Because if we really stop, and I know like when we get in these triggered states, it's so hard to see anything else. Like when I have a failure, when I have an awkward social moment, I could write 15 fire ass songs in a row and write one dumb thing one day, or just not be able to write anything and feel like I suck. And now I don't do that as much anymore because I've kind of released that and just been like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? But I know the feeling. And it all comes down to judgments, and it comes down to us putting ourselves on this pedestal that we should be something to accept ourselves. And that's just not the case. Like, it's all in our minds, because nobody would hold us to that standard. And I wouldn't hold anyone else to that standard. But for some reason, I want to hold myself to that standard. I can't make a mistake. I should be able to do anything. And here's the thing too, that it's like a self-defeating thing, because with me putting so much pressure on myself, and then instead of approaching a situation, making a mistake, having it not come easily, I give myself so much mental blockages in that moment that I can't even begin to work on the solution, because I'm so distraught and kicking my own ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just like, oh man, yeah, if I got I don't know, whatever. I gotta figure this problem out. Should take 15 minutes. But 2 minutes in, I don't feel like I'm where I should be in 2 minutes. So I'm gonna spend the next 10 minutes talking shit to myself and feeling like an idiot, and then really not even having the mental space or capacity to look at this without being completely distracted.
But yeah, no, I do seriously relate to that 100%, because if I can't accept the fact that I don't know. I can't accept what I don't know, and I can't accept what I can't do, and I can't accept what I don't understand. And because of that, I beat myself up so bad that I don't have any capacity to do anything else. That takes up most of my energy.
Ooh, you know what I just thought of? That would be really fun exercise. That would probably be really hard to do.
What?
You ready for this?
Oh God.
A judgment detox, where you can't judge nothing. Just the practice of non-judgment.
I love that.
Because we need to judge ourselves. We need to self-police. We need to assess others. There are negative traits to it, but there are also good reasons to judge other people. Who do I want to emulate? Who do I not want around me? What influences? Blah blah blah. It's good to self-police. What should I do? What should I not do? Should I punch this person in the face? Probably not. You know what I mean? But when the judge gets so strong, you got to think, man, that muscle has been worked for some time. So it's just flexing on its own, just bap, 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 I got this, you know what I mean? And maybe it just needs to be cut off for a minute, and it might be hard the first little bit to, it's still going to happen. The practice will be not listening to it, or giving yourself a pass, okay, one day, just start with 1 day, 1 hour, but a day, and just saying, just for today, I will not judge myself on anything, and that doesn't mean we run loose and do whatever. We still conduct ourselves in the same way we would, but we're not allowed to judge ourselves if we fall short.
Yeah, so the thing about judgment, I really like the discussion of that word, because yeah, there's two types of judgments. There's the judgment of yourself that derives negative feelings, but then there's judgment, like you said, of other people, of who I want to be around and whatever. That does not derive negative feelings. You kind of evaluate, or not evaluate. Yeah, I guess evaluate, like a math problem. I don't get upset from solving math equations. I mean, some people do, but not in a sense of, so.
I don't really know. Can you break that down a little bit? Because I don't know what you mean by the math problem or judging other people.
It's comparing math to people.
You just walk around seeing numbers. It's like, Neo in the Matrix, but everybody's like a math problem.
Okay,
Like,
so
this person's pretty cool, man. They're like a variable equation with multi-fractions. Oh, this person's like 2 + 2.
okay, so like good judgment and bad judgment. So bad judgment is when like I judge myself and I'm just like, oh, I suck, whatever, negative feelings, and then I judge other people like, oh, this person sucks, and I get a negative feeling from that. But that negative feeling comes from the fact that I would judge myself for sucking too. So those two go hand in hand. Now,
Right.
evaluating good judgment is like, okay, I see this person is a thief and a liar and a cheater, and I don't want to be around this person to protect and love myself because I love myself. So that is evaluating like a math equation, like what numbers do add up with this person. I don't get negative.
Okay.
I don't get negative feelings from this. This is just I'm just calculating numbers.
I like that.
But so and that also ties in with myself. So if I hated myself and judged myself in a negative way, I wouldn't, evaluate this person. I would just have them stay in my life. I would, not like I would get negative feelings from them, but I would just still continue to allow it. Yeah, this is really hard to explain.
No, I got it. And I kind of came up with like another little thing while you were talking.
Okay.
Like I like how you said like evaluating is not like judging. So the problem is we judge and then we sentence. So like,
oh God,
we don't just judge ourselves and evaluate ourselves. We also give ourselves a label. Oh, well, this is my evaluation of you. You suck. This is my evaluation of you. You're not good enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so the judgment isn't even bad. It's okay to judge yourself. It's okay to like assess yourself and say, okay, this is where I'm at. It just sucks when you got to go in and say, now you are this because of this assessment. You know what I mean? And we just, sentence ourselves to these labels and these standards that we then listen to ourselves for and just defeat ourselves about. Like, so what? I wasn't at my best today, or I wasn't, I'm always at my best. Even if I specifically try not to be good. Like when I was using, I was not doing what would be considered my best today at all. But at the time, that was the best I could hold my anger. Like cussing out my baby mom and calling her all these names that broke her spirit was my best. I held back from like, I mean, not that I ever like hit women, but like I didn't hit her. I didn't like, chase her down and just like berate her nonstop. But like when she was in my face yelling at me and I cussed her out and then hit her with all those words, that was my best. You know what I mean? Like it's not good at all, but in that moment, that was my best. You know what I mean? Like some of us, our best isn't up to standard with what our best would be today. Like my best in my first year of sobriety is not my best today.
Right.
Like I have so much more skills and tools. And if next year or tomorrow I lose half of them or just toss them aside, basically is what it would be. And then I'm back to old destructive patterns. Who's still to say that's not my best? You know what I mean? Like that's where I can assess I don't know.
No, yeah.
It's just, there's so many layers, so many layers, so many variables, so many factors in these little equations that, yeah.
Yeah, see, it is an equation. It is a math problem.
I'm just going to put like that, like a huge chalkboard with all this like shit written on it, like the hugest problem in the world as the thumbnail.
Yes. We should also compile a list of factors and turn that into equation. I am having
Ooh.
so many ideas right now because math is involved. An
Nerd.
algorithm, a flow chart.
God.
But yeah, so as like I feel like I've said this before on this pod, but whatever. How can I expect something more of myself? How can I expect to be on the same level as somebody who, because we've all had different experiences, we've all had different traumas, we've all had different levels of knowledge, different levels of awareness, like all these factors. We are all so unique because we all have so many different experiences. And whatever level that we're at right now, that's our best level. And that's where
Right.
acceptance comes in. And, you know, like when I was doing horrible, horrible things, but that's because I had no awareness, because the pain I was going through has pushed me out of myself and out of my awareness. That's what happens to people that are quote unquote bad, is we just get pushed completely out of ourselves. And the reason why I had a drastic change, that I am, you know, a decent person now, is because I'm gaining that awareness back that I had when I was a little girl, where I was, you know, kind of nice and sweet. So it's only because I am getting back into myself. Because nobody wants to be bad. Nobody means to be bad. We just, our focus is on making the pain go away. So what
Right.
comes with that is doing whatever we need to do and just forget about other people, completely just take focus off of them and use them as, you know, methods to feel better, and use things and just manipulate and steal and cheat and lie and all that stuff, because the end goal is to make the pain go away. And that is our best when that's where we're at. So,
Right. Like some people never learned this shit. Some people like never heard of presence. They never heard of, gratitude and compassion because they grew up around people who tried to control everything and everybody around them, who tried to check out with substances and forget about their problems rather than address them productively. You know what I mean? Like, so when someone grows up and they function the same way that they see everyone else functioning, when they cope with the way they see everyone else coping, when they either have, the procrastination disease or the perfectionism disease, and they model the people around them. So therefore, they either have the highest standards for themselves and fall short, or they have that belief like, well, I'm not going to be anything anyway, so why bother? You know what I mean? Like all these things, like how does someone not do their best? Like who wants to do bad? Who wants to just walk around here doing absolutely horrible? You know what I mean? Nobody wants to make things harder for themselves, but still people are struggling all the time, and it's hard for them because that is their best. Like some people like are depressed because of the situations they're in, but they can't just, like one of us could probably look at them like, oh, you're in this relationship where you're being abused and mentally abused and like controlled, and your partner just calls you names and they basically hate you. Why don't you just leave? But they can't.
yeah.
They're paralyzed, or they're afraid of the unknown, or they don't have the finances or the opportunities or the strength or courage to make that change. Are they not doing their best? You know what I mean? By checking out with Netflix to like save themselves some sanity, by I don't know, like going to a meeting and not saying a word, but they're there. You know what I mean? Like I don't know,
Right.
it's just too much to, yeah. And potential is irrelevant. Potential does not exist. Like I can't I can look at myself as the best I think I can do, and I can lie to myself and say that's my potential. Or I can look at my most highest functioning day, or like a time of my life where I was just prime, right? And then hold this little image of one speck of time and say, that's my potential. Anything less than that, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing my best because I did that one time.
Yeah.
So I should be able to do that every day. And that's just not the case. Like, there's days I wake up, my brain is just, I don't know, like, I'm just not on it. I'm not as funny. I'm not as witty. I'm not as, quick thinking with people when I'm talking recovery. I'm not as energetic to be social. Sometimes, like, I'm just don't even want to adult today. Like, like, but that's my best that day. So I don't know. I mean, I can analyze that. I can see, why did I end up so blank that day? Did I not sleep enough? Did I not eat enough? Am I checked out in TV? Am I distracted? Whatever. I can find a reason mathematically. Where did I write the wrong number? Why is this equation not balancing out? But I don't need to sit there and tell myself like I'm stupid or lazy or not good enough because I'm holding myself to this potential. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, I think I just had one of those moments where my soul spoke.
Ooh. What'd it say?
It's like you get this information. You ever get that where it's like super familiar, but it's like you've never heard it before?
Yeah.
So by getting to be your best and by getting to be better, it means to be closest to yourself you can be. So
Okay.
the more you are in touch with yourself and connected to yourself, the more you are at your most potential. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So,
but really just being is where it's at.
Yeah, so the more, so change happens from acceptance. So if I accept every part of myself, if I accept my inability to not know everything, if I accept my inability to understand and get everything, if I accept my anger, if I accept my defects, if I accept my traumas, triggers, if I allow them to happen, if I sink into them, if I feel myself and are aware of all my thoughts, that is when I get to my higher self, so my best self. And that is where I can access my full potential.
Well, you got to think too, who is it that has these judgments? Who is it that, says you need to do this, you need to do that? Because the higher self doesn't do that.
Right.
It doesn't think, oh, you need to go to college, or, oh, you need to know this problem, or you need to be this status in this situation, or you need to say this thing in this setting, or you need to write this rap song. You know what I mean? Like, what does that?
Right. So,
do you know what it is?
Oh, the ego.
The ego.
But no, that's what I mean. Like, if we do you get what I'm saying? Like,
I get what you're saying.
Like,
I totally get what you're saying. Okay. Like, you just got to get closer to yourself. Like, your self doesn't have these attributes. You know what I mean? Your true self, it just is. Yes. And I'm sorry, am I boring you?
Dude, I'm crashing for 500 milligrams.
Please, if anyone out there is listening, I know there's, if you got time in your life and you are like one of those montage people, I want you to take all the yawns from every episode and put them all in together and make like a beat, like something like that. Like, let's get it. Let's do it.
You know what, Steven? I will personally do that myself. I will take it upon myself to listen to every episode fully, thoroughly for the first time since a year ago, just to make this compilation.
God.
Give a fuck.
No, but like, in all seriousness, it's enough doesn't exist. You always do your best. Your best isn't going to be the same when you're sick, when you're prime, when you're, doing something familiar or you're doing something brand new. It's not going to be the same from when you're stressed to when you're 100% presently relaxed. And, it's not going to be the same when you're, going through something in life and your mind is half distracted, or when you just fucking won the lottery and you are walking on sunshine. Like, every one of those situations has a different, like, level of energy, a different level of spark and excitement, a different level of brain function, and to compare them all on the same scale is just not fair. You just can't. So the judgment and the sentencing, one, it all comes down to acceptance. You got to accept yourself with unconditionally. No conditions to accept myself. Now, if we want to judge ourselves for doing dirty, rotten things, we probably should. You know what I mean? But when we're just falling short of fucking greatness, nah. That's a lot. That's a lot to ask. And where's our base of comparison? Because, no matter who we look at, whether it's a fucking celebrity or Gandhi, you know what I mean? Like, nobody is going to have zero shortcomings or off days. It's just not realistic. So, like, I can't hold myself to that standard.
But even when you're doing horrible things, like, yeah, you can judge yourself, but if you beat yourself up to the point of suicide, like, that's also not good. So for judgment,
and I'm not saying go there and beat yourself
no, I know,
up. But I mean, if you're like,
I know what you're saying. Let me finish, please. I wasn't done. So, like I said, the two different judgments, the good and the bad. So if you do the good judgment, which is evaluating, like, okay, this is not good behavior. This behavior does not serve me. I'm going to try something else. Like,
right.
Definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So,
is that what it is?
Yeah. Also, I was trying to think of something.
Thought you were gonna say something slick, huh?
I was going to, but I'm not gonna.
I would have.
Shit. What was I gonna say?
Good judgment, bad judgment.
Yeah, so
yeah.
So I don't know if you've noticed what I just did, but when I was talking about, okay, if I am feeling all my feelings, accepting every part of myself, freaking, then I can be my full potential. Then I can be my best. Then I can be perfect. So there I go again. It's crazy.
The ego trap, the ego inception, like, hold up.
How my ego.
If I just do this. Yeah.
Dude, I'm like, I feel like I'm at a, like, really stuck right now. Like, I feel like there's something inside of me that's just like at a dead end, and it's like pushing and pushing. It's like, okay, but like, you can get to that. You can be super like in touch with yourself, and you can just stop. You can just accept yourself. And it's like, it is possible. And then the other side of me is just like, well, no, you can't. That's not possible. But then what is life? What am I doing here? And it's like, it's crazy what's happening in my head right now.
I feel like that's what happens when the ego, one, gets noticed, and then two, gets challenged. Like, that bitch will fight for its life.
Yeah, it's fighting for its life.
When I first got into this shit, it was like that thing was in control. And then even when, I start grasping these concepts, it just changed form into like some self-righteous, oh, I'm cool in meetings. Let me get my head blown up when people nod and say how cool I am. You know what I mean? Into like, I'm this whatever. I'm that. And then I know what's right. And you know what I mean? Like it will always reshape its form. You just have to like get good with you on a spiritual level, on the high self level. And then you have to realize that that shit ain't going nowhere. Them thoughts are still going to come, and you just give them less and less merit. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I don't need your words to define me. You know what I mean? That's why, like, I still have plenty of ego moments. I still have plenty of self judgments. I do. I had some recently this week that just kind of got me in my head and funky, but I'm able to recognize it sooner. And even though the feelings don't go away, I just have to like remind myself, like, dude, this is not a definition of who you are right now. On the most ultimate level, you are not the sum of this event that's just in the forefront of your mind right now that's got you feeling away. It's just something that happened, and it's a feeling you have. Like, if you want to look at this and then adjust yourself so you don't walk in these steps again, cool. But we're not going to define yourself by this. This does not change who you see yourself as. Does that make sense?
Yeah, dude, I'm just trying to fucking register what just happened because I actually finally got to that like ego part of realization that I've thought that in the back of my mind I had this idea that I would become perfect at some point. That I was actually
Hey, at least you
like
noticed it.
I thought this was an 100% possibility that once I read all the spiritual books, once I do all the work on myself, see all the therapists, break down every fucking defect and trauma and of myself, that I will become perfect. And I just realized that's never going to happen. And it doesn't make sense to me how that couldn't happen, because you solve all the problems, then you're good. So like there's a limit to how many problems. Do you just get more new problems, or do those problems never go away? It's like, what is it? And now I'm so lost because I don't have answers again.
Well, that brings us back to the question, what is enough? What is perfect? When are you just going to be done?
I don't know. Oh my God. This is a really scary feeling. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my God.
I mean, honestly, like I used to have these high standards. I had to be a rapper. I had to be the best rapper because I'm me and I'm fucking special. I had to be, the coolest, the funniest, the whatever. And nowadays, it's such a paradox because I could really give a shit. Like, I like to rap and write. I rap and write what I want. I have fun. I'm glad that I'm decent. Like, I'm just glad that I'm okay. That I don't suck balls. You know what I mean? I'm funny. I'm not the most hilarious person. I don't sit and write jokes.
Okay.
But I'm pretty funny.
So if you did suck balls, would you still not feel good about yourself?
I probably wouldn't. But I mean, I also probably would accept it by now and just be like, bro, this isn't for you.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
You know what I mean? Like, I used to beat myself up for feeling like ugly or feeling dumb. And it's like, I don't need to know everything. There's some things I don't know. And I can say, what does that mean? Now I know. Woohoo. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm not the most attractive person, but I'm not ugly. And I can, I'm okay with that. I don't have life, I don't make the most money. I don't have the flyest ride. Got some pretty decent shoes. But other than that, man, like I lowered my expectations of myself to a realistic standpoint. I told my boy a long time ago, when it come to making music, like I just want to be decent. Like I used to want to be the best, and it's such a high bar. And and I always bring up music because was literally the top like label for me. Like that was everything to me. That's probably the best thing I've ever been at, something that's creative. Anyway, for me to get to a point to say decent is okay was huge, because I'm telling you, it literally defined my identity. And the funny thing is that once I let go of this bar I set for myself and I just shot for decent, I have moments of where I just feel like I'm amazing. But it's still not a new bar. It's not like, okay, now you have to be amazing. I write a bunch of shit. You know what I mean? And yeah, it kind of sucks when I do, but at the same time, I've done it enough and accepted it enough and redirected myself enough that now I'm just like, okay. Now, if I went like 6 months without writing anything good, I'd probably start to feel away. But not every time. You know what I mean? So if I turn around and like try and try and try and fail and fail and fail for like a long period of time, I'm sure it would have an effect. But ultimately, that does not define me as a person. And it took a lot to get there, to say this label, that label, it just doesn't define me. Like, and that freedom allows me to be and allows me to grow in all the ways where I am falling short, because I actually have time and space to move in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's a process, and it doesn't happen overnight, and it's really hard to break some of those old conditionings. So really, you just got to remind yourself, I am enough no matter what. Like, as a person, you are enough. If you fail every class you're in, you are still enough of a human being. Like, spiritually, you have so many more things going on for you in life. Like, you made extraordinary progress in, so many aspects of your life, that just because one is giving you a little turbulence, you can't let that define you as a whole, because there's so much more to look
Right.
at, you know?
But thinking like that just kind of makes me want to like just drop school. it just makes me want to just be done, man. Like, just
Why can't you just try your best?
no, I'm kidding. I'm
Why can't you
kidding.
just
I'm
try
not
your
gonna do
best?
that. That would be really dumb. Um, but yeah, I really appreciate that.
It's hard. It's hard. It takes a lot of bravery to try something and feel like I might just be okay at this, or try something, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like, but I'm telling you, like, it's just like anything. Once you get used to like doing that, you get more comfortable with it, and you then see progress of how that worked for you, and say, well, man, allowing myself to be mediocre for a while led me to being good, and allowing myself to be good and not kicking my own ass for not being fucking fantastic allowed me
Right.
to get great. I mean, it's all a process, and letting go is step one, because really you just have to remember what it is. The ego is not going anywhere. The best thing you can do is be aware of it. Your higher self will never say you suck. Will never say, without this label, without this accomplishment, without this, you know, fucking little pin on your jacket, you're not enough. It will never say that. So if you ever hear that from yourself, you just need to acknowledge to yourself where that voice is coming from. And it may not shut up, and you're going to have moments where you forget and you don't notice it right away. But the more you remind yourself of what that voice is, the more you can choose how you want to listen to it. Because we don't need to ignore it. We can consider it, see what it's saying, and see if that makes us want to do something different, like our self evaluations. But once it starts calling us names and making us feel like we're defined, that's something we want to make sure we stay away from.
Right. Dude.
And you do that a lot. You do that a lot. Like, don't feel like you don't do that. It's just, you're just going through some hard shit right now at school that it's like hitting you times 10. You know what I mean? So it's just this one area that you're just kind of
Well,
feeling
yeah,
this
because this is
in. So I know if you look at your whole life and all the different areas of your life, you'll see
no everywhere,
how you're able
every
to do
other
this.
aspect of my life, I am so like chill about. This, like, school has always been my number one trigger because ever since I was little, you know, people thought I was like a super genius and put all these expectations on me to be like freaking a scientist or something. And I was never able to meet that. So now anything I do in school, I have to be like 100% at it. Otherwise, you know, I was made to feel like I was not good enough. Like I remember my mom used to scream at me for not, like, she would help me with some of my homework and I wouldn't understand something. She would scream at me. And I would ask her later about it, like, why would you do that? And she's like, well, because I knew you could do it and you just didn't. So that stuck with me. So now when I know that I can do something and I just can't, I'm not at my best, but that's not, it's okay if I don't know something. It, so,
Yeah.
so this is the worst thing for me to feel out of all the things. Like if my freaking apartment got burnt down, I'd be like, what can I do? You know, if, you know, some relationship in my life no longer was there, like, yeah, it would hurt for a little bit, but like I would be able to like go much easier. This shit is different and it is the most painful thing. So, yeah.
Well, I guess you're just gonna have to burn down the house of condition.
Yes. No, but seriously, like everything you just said, I had a moment for a minute for the first time in my life. Because normally, if I have something that I have to get done and I wasn't able to get done that day, I will literally like beat myself up the rest of the night and not be able to do anything. But after you said what you said, I was able to actually calm down and just think it's okay that I couldn't do it today. I have never had that happen while having things hanging over my head. I've always just in and out thoughts, like constant, like, you know, oh my God, you didn't do this. Like it would just come in waves and it'll just fucking like bite me in the ass super hard. And it's like, now it's like, I am finally accepting and I'm okay with what I have done today. And I can just be chill the rest of the night. Like it's crazy.
Hell yeah. Just for today. Don't act like it's gonna be here forever.
I know.
Gonna come back tomorrow.
But yeah, the main focus though that I meant to make this not about myself, but like us addicts. I know.
You know I'm charging you for this shit.
So
it's nothing I'm doing, man. It's like this shit just comes. This is what we do. Like I wouldn't know half of this shit. I just feel like I don't know, we just bounce these ideas off each other so much. Like I got a lot out of this. I'm like just like the way you break down the evaluation, the difference between this and that. I'm like, you know, I'm just listening and like, hold up, how can we flip this? You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, this shit's dope, and I think it's good for people to know. You know what I mean? That like, there's just look at this one thing. Mm-hmm. What is enough, right? All this shit comes into play. All these multiple layers, all this different perspective. Like, there's just too much to define this one. It will act like it's a simple thing. It's a simple answer. Oh, you didn't do this, so you're not enough. Like, nah. Did you think about these 50 other things? You know what I mean? Like,
well, it's because a lot of this stuff ties together. What I meant to talk about, what is enough, is, so we're like, everybody, everybody is addicted to something, but I think that addiction stems from not knowing what is enough. So, like, when do you know when it's enough of, doing drugs? Like, getting, when is high enough? When is, taking enough shit from a person? When is enough of getting school or work done? When is enough of eating? When is enough of sleeping? When is enough of freaking out? When is enough of feeling angry? It's like, we don't know the limit until we are pushed past the breaking point, until we no longer can stand it. So, like, I've always admired people who knew their limit, who knew when to stop eating when they're full, who knew when to stop drinking after one drink, who knew when to break up with somebody who's treating them like crap, who knew when.
We're gonna have to save this for part 2.
Yeah, because that was like my main point. I know.
Well, fuck. We just went way on the other side. So we broke down, like, on another level what is enough. But yeah, we'll have to tackle that. But I don't want to do it right now.